Right. All right, thank you. Good morning. We'll call to order at 7:35 a.m. Good morning, everyone. If we could just stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Okay. First order of business is approval of minutes from December 4. Jenny did send them out. We're looking for motion to approve the minutes of December 4th. Moved by Mr. Holmes, second. Second by Ms. Glory. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item is old business, GZA Geotechnical Engineering Services Report, Tollgate High School. Is this you, Steve, or is this left you? Is this you? The GZA report for Tollgate?
Yeah,
This is,
I don't recall what this is, sorry.
yeah, this is for the new test pits for the metal building and the
Right.
extra pits that we had to
Yeah.
do. I don't know, Steve, do you wanna take this one, the draft GZA report?
Yeah, I don't have a copy of it, but, that report was basically for, the test pits that were required for the new metal building location next to the CTC building. To do some underground, survey for, to locate any ledge or anything like that where we're putting the metal building, so.
And the report, pretty much, it was a pretty good report. There's not a lot of ledge removal that's gonna be required for that area. It was pretty good.
Yeah, we mentioned this last week. We mentioned this at the last meeting,
Yeah.
just the report had just come in. So there's nothing to approve. It's just to say that it was good news,
Informational.
right? More information.
The largest depth was what, 7 feet?
I think
Yes.
it's accurate.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I think, the shallowest area was probably 3 feet. It wasn't bad.
We said they hit like boulders and stuff, but nothing.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
Yeah. Which is good. So, you know,
There's gonna be a few boulders there, yeah.
it's encouraging. You gotta, like I said last time, we gotta take anything we can. So, all right, good. So there's no action to be taken on that. Okay. Next is, agenda item D1, bid document release authorization, bid 25-0010, land appraisal services for Tollgate. Is this Leadfield?
John and Tom, I think.
This one I can't speak to, so. All right, so a little bit of backstory. There is approximately 1 acre piece of land on the Tollgate site that was the recipient of land and water conservation funds back in the 1970s, I believe, for the purposes of installing a playground. That, according to the regulations, that purpose, for the playground purpose, must be maintained in perpetuity, right? Forever. With that area, which is just east of the Drum Rock building, being in conflict with the new footprint of the Tollgate High School, we now have to find, and Mr. Kravitz has helped substantially with this, an alternate site for that parcel of land. And there are also 2 other pieces of land, I believe, in Aldrich and Rhodes, if I'm not mistaken, right? The former Aldrich and Rhodes locations where we have a similar situation. So Mr. Kravitz has identified what we're calling a solution parcel that can accommodate both the Tollgate acre, the Rhodes, and the Aldrich parcels into one solution parcel for this purpose of maintaining the Land and Water Conservation Fund intent. So anyway, the appraisal services are a requirement, federal requirement, that the federal government is acquiring a piece of land, they have to do what is called a yellow book appraisal. So a yellow book is just a type of appraisal that's according to the federal guidelines, right? So that's what this RFP is for the appraisal services, to do those yellow book surveys for all of these parcels. We will require another survey. Again, this is according to the regulations. We will require another separate survey after this, but, the intent of this RFP is to get that initial survey done for the four parcels in question. I hope I summarized that. There's a lot of pieces to it, but again, that's the purpose of the RFP.
Any questions for John or Mr. Kravitz? So would this parcel be on the Tollgate property, or does it have to be on the property where the grant, for lack of a better word, was made, or?
No, we have to find a suitable relocation parcel, if you will. And I did that, and we got it approved through DEM. DEM runs this program. Program starts at the National Park Service, believe it or not. So DEM hasn't been implementing it over the years, since '78. And now they're having to implement and oversee the program. So they're coming down on everybody, all the cities and towns that have these investments, to make sure that the land maintains its original use as a park. So Aldrich, the Rhodes project, ironically enough, Rhodes got approved for a subdivision, which is approved by DEM. Different division. I brought that to their attention, didn't make them happy. But I found a parcel which we're gonna solve all the city's issues with this program. So it's moving in the right direction at least.
All right. Any other questions? All right, so we're gonna look for a motion to approve this bid release, right?
Yes.
All right, looking for a motion to approve document release authorization, 250010. Moved by Ms. Calori, second by Mr. Deport. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, there are no bid reviews or awards. There's a next one is W. Mason.
Can we move Mr. Connolly first? Can we do the PLA first?
Oh, okay. All right, would there be any objection to, moving a new business item, the PLA, since Mr. Conley's here? Any objection to moving that item up now? We can just do that while he's here and then. Okay, all right, so. Where are we here? Okay, it was new business number 5, discussion action, PLA negotiation for left field. All right, who wants to take this? Mr. Conley and left field, or?
Just to kick it off, the committee in your packet should have been given a draft copy of the project labor agreement as drafted by Attorney Conley in his office. He can speak to the contents of it, if you would.
Sure. So I think one of the ways that I like to think about the base draft document that you have in front of you is it has been developed over time. There were some original forms of these documents that weren't specifically related to RIDE school projects, but they were derivative of other project labor agreements in the state. And every single project that I've worked on, I have the benefit of working with municipalities, unions, project managers, contractors, and they all take swipes at it here and there. And with every ding and dent, it becomes more and more like a diamond, right? So the kind of accumulated pressure over time is what improves the quality here. Even last night, we got some comments back from Demio, who's reviewing them this morning. You know, they look like good, intelligent comments. The reason why I bring up that context is what you have in front of you is not the invention of the wheel, it's the perfection of the wheel. It's how we get better and better and better at doing the same things. And I think where we are in this market with these particular players, the parties that are entering into this contract, in particular the unions and the construction companies, is this is a pretty defined space at this point. We have certain expectations in the market for how these sorts of agreements work because the parties that are building all of these schools across the state are generally a handful of the same parties. So one of the things that we do is every single time something doesn't work well, we have updates. I am proud to say, not that it didn't work well, but we got a lot of feedback from Warwick, from members of this committee, and we've improved, I think, pretty substantially based on that. And I do think actually the corrections that we've seen recently are corrections that favor the contracting firm. In general, the corrections that favor the contracting firm do have conceptual incentive alignment with management, which was, this team we have here this morning. But in principle, I think everyone here is pretty familiar with what a collective bargaining agreement is. This is functionally a collective bargaining agreement. It's a compilation of collective bargaining agreements with a specific agreement for your projects. So that even though there are multiple unions moving in and out of the project, we're all working off the same sheet of music. We're all playing the same tune. Principally, the value here is if there is a dispute, it's resolved very quickly and it's resolved without any harm of the project timeline. And if there's insufficient labor, we can require the unions to go to their pools and bring labor to the project. One of the things that we've determined over time is that being able to bring labor to a project is not as helpful in absolute terms as people may think. If we fall behind and we really need folks and we add 100 people to a job, sometimes 20 of them are just watching the other 80 guys work, and that doesn't get us to where we need to be. So what we have built into this is a very regular series of meetings with all parties involved, which are trying to identify pitfalls in the timeline as they look forward. And so that we can call in that labor before there's a crunch, before there's a problem. So we can get 4 and 5 additional people here and there, as opposed to 100 additional at the end of the project when we're underneath the deadline. The other component here is even the arbitration process is incredibly sped up. For those that are familiar with grievances, even that can take a lot of time. This is arranged so it takes a few weeks, not several months. So everything is about speed, getting to certificate of occupancy. So conceptually, that's where we are. If there are questions about particular sections, I'm happy to dive in and we can back them back and forth. I don't plan on going into unnecessary detail.
Any questions for Mr. Conley? Do you have anything?
I do, but go ahead.
No, you go first. Oh, I know you're reading, but
There's, I don't know if anybody picked it up on page 8, there's the city of is missing more. Section C.
8, section C.
Section 3C. Is indoor residents of the Warwick.
Yeah.
Got that one.
So, can you just explain to me, because on section 2, you talked about non-union employees coming in, having to be a union employee. And on page 11, it seems to be a little different wording. Could you just shed some light on that for please?
Sure. So, this is one of the key inherent tensions of where case law and precedent is across the country on this point. A lot of this is related to what's known as the Janus decision. The Janus decision overturned the precedent on how union membership and paying union dues works in the United States. So, historically speaking, the performance of union work was used as a threshold for paying union dues. The Janus decision corrected that. You have to be a member of the union. You cannot force someone to pay union dues in the same way you cannot force someone to join a union. So the travel of documents like this is they have been updated to include Janus guarantees so that there's no unconstitutional requirement to participate in a union that includes no requirement of payment of dues. Historically speaking, though, people were required to join. So there are in section 2, maybe we could update the language a little bit. Let's see, add comments, but don't forget about it.
seven or
Top of the.
I like use the phrase, I think the language is matching or not matching. I think it can be updated to be much more clear to that point, to that refined point. But the bottom line is this contract does not require anyone to join the union. It does not require anyone to pay union dues. There may be an occasion where there is some pressure on folks to do so. There's not a lot that I can do about the pragmatic reality of two people sitting next to each other doing work and one's in union and one isn't, and one's talking about how they should join and the other one doesn't want to hear it.
Right.
But in practice, they can't be forced. So the non-union member, according to the contracts,
And that's spelled out here.
it is, yes, yes.
And the trades have all accepted that premise.
Their attorneys have.
Okay.
Okay, a very, very brief story. Early on in my career, I was about to argue a case in federal court on exactly this point. And this is before the Janus decision. And the day before our oral argument in front of Judge Smith, the Janus decision came down and completely wiped out our entire argument, our case. So I, got up in front of the judge, said, "Good morning, Your Honor." And he looks at me and goes, "Have you read the Janus decision?" I said, "Yes, Your Honor." He's like, "Would you like a continuance so you can discuss settlement?" I said, "Yes, Your Honor." That was the entirety of my argument. So that world has been flipped on its head, some years ago now, but the acceptance of it takes time.
Yes. So that's from the old school.
And because I know, and anything else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Yes, no.
Because I know the last time there was, you were here, I think, when Armin had some other agreements, there was conflicting language in one of them, right? Where it
Mhm.
said, you're not forced to join the union, but you are forced. So that's been clarified, because I didn't see that in here. I didn't see that problem in here.
Yeah, so, I want to drill down on the specific language. It's a bit hard for me to, on the fly, catch exactly what the issue is, but anything that is slightly off of Janus will be full Janus and, by the final copy. We've
Yeah.
made a lot of efforts in this document to get there.
So in the information that Dimeo sent you last night, you're gonna incorporate that into this?
Yes, because they're a party.
Right.
There's no, I don't have final say on what the language is. This board doesn't have
Right.
final say what the language is. I was taking a quick look at some of their, changes. There's one that I imagine is gonna get at least a counter back from the unions. The second anyone says the word seniority, everyone loses their mind, so we may need to find a better way to phrase it. But these are parties that have done these together already. My guess is that's related to some problem they had on some other job site, and I need to understand what that is.
So my question is, since we don't know what those are, right? So this really isn't a final agreement yet. It wouldn't be final, right? So whatever we do today would kind of be pending what the final language looks like, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to make sure, I don't want to tie us into, if we say, yeah, this is fine, and then we don't even know what the Vimeo and the other trades issues are going to be, right? So we don't want to just then throw anything in here, because that wouldn't make any sense, right?
Right.
So,
Right, but it's also really important because if there's something that's a red flag for us, I need to know now before I.
yeah, no, because we have a, okay. I gotcha. Anything else?
No.
All right. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Something. Yep, Mr. Holmes.
I want to compliment you on your updating of the PLAs. There are a lot, they've addressed many of the concerns that we've had over the years. Especially like job meetings and the things you talked about. I think those will help us as this board and to alleviate any kind of a hassle. We know that problems are gonna get solved quickly and they're gonna get solved in the right manner with no hostilities. And I think that's great. I think we're really close, to be honest with you. From the ones I've seen before, of course, when I first saw 43 pages, and I'm wondering that, the attorneys are still charging by the page, but, that's only a rumor. But,
And per email.
when we'll have the trades indicated, when they'll be signing off on it, or what's the timeline?
So the timeline is a bit derived from the party. So Demio giving us comment is another big step. So we're a lot
Yep.
closer. What you see here is a document that before it went out to Demio, before it went out to this board, myself and the unions have been hammering at. So for what it's worth, a little bit of additional context, I am doing, actively working on 4 of these right now, starting on 2 more. So the unions and I are, it's a friendly competition, but it's a competition over every comma. And what you have here is the work product that is reflective of every concern that's been raised on their end from each of those sites. And similarly, as Damien gives us comment here, North Province, I'm working with Chalmette, and Chalmette's giving me comments. So each of those I try to feed, and anytime someone makes a good point, like we had this morning with updating this language, I'm going to try to push the update across.
Are they all public?
They are.
nowadays?
All the
Right.
completed ones are.
Okay.
The 4 which I'm speaking about right now, none of them are done, so none of them
Because
are.
that presents certain problems, public versus private, obviously.
It does,
So I'm just making sure we're talking apples to apples.
yes. These all will be public documents by the time they're done.
You were talking about public projects.
Yeah, public projects.
Oh, they're all public projects, they're all school projects.
Okay,
If
that's huge.
the RIDE program is very specific, I would not be trying to use the same exact PLA outside of the RIDE program.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, we had a meeting with Ride recently, Attorney Connolly, excuse me. And they talked about creating separate projects for the demolition of Drum Rock, the metal building that's gonna be for the Marine Trades Program, and the renovation at Career and Tech. And they wanted to know if they could pull that out and we treat them as separate projects from the PLA. Is that possible? They wanted to be bid out separately.
That's a good question. I've very generically identified the projects here.
Right.
Were those projects that they've identified within the same RFP as?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
I see the problems. I'm doing a dance here. so.
Yeah, so, in another community, they did new builds by PLA and renovations without PLN. And that seemed to, work fine. There sort of was a clear demarcation line.
Yeah, I don't see the drum rock, being pulled out. That's the first thing that Joe DeSilva had brought up. But I think it's too closely related to the high school, so I don't see that working that way, but I can see the renovation and addition, because technically in addition to Career and Tech, I could see that possibly happening.
The project you just referenced, the delineation was made at the beginning, right? Right, prior to,
At the start, at the
yeah,
outset, I
prior
would
to
say.
CM procurement and all that, so the scope is clear. Whereas now we're pivoting.
Yeah,
I think it's worthwhile to pursue the remodeling of CTC, which, the way I view it is kind of indirectly linked to the construction of new high school, right? Although I know it was all in the same RFP, but, part of that's RIDE coming back and saying, well, maybe we should have done it this way.
But I know what they're doing, but
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that it would be, I think, foolish not to
we
attempt.
can schedule a follow-up so that, I don't want to go beyond the Open Meetings Act right now.
Yeah.
But I do want to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
And if it's driven by RIDE, that might solve the problem for us.
yeah, it was brought up by Ride specifically.
Let's hang on to that portion of
Yeah,
it.
that's fine.
Any other questions for, so the question I would have is, this is an action item. So if we approve this, do we approve this pending?
You can prove it for further negotiation.
Yeah, so we would approve it pending further negotiation and inclusion of other language,
Mhm.
right? So that kind of covers it, because we'll have another bite at this apple, right? Hopefully one more final and then it's done and then,
I mean, my one request would be, I've identified, at least one section that I'm gonna try to tighten up. But if we have a favorable recommendation today to sort of take this and try to get this to the finish line, that if it comes back, we don't reopen a section later. So kind of a classic collective bargaining agreement phenomenon is if we're clear on articles 1, 2, and 3, but we got a question on 4, at the next step, no one even talks about 1, 2, and 3 because those are settled. That makes it a lot easier to negotiate. We narrow the window.
that seems,
That seems fair. That, so it would be the language you identified, Dimio's input and,
Trades. Anything with trade.
yeah, any other input, right? And the ride question about those three items. Right? Okay, so, all right, so I would make a motion to approve, the PLA, pending everything that I just mentioned, I want to say. Okay, so it's, I moved it, Mr. It's second, Mr. Kravitz and Mr. Holmes. Any more questions before we go? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Conlon. Okay. All right. Where were we? We're going back to,
Did the,
yeah, we're going to
so we're at 3A.
D3, recommended award WB Mason for the Holloman renovation. Steve, this one's for you. This is all
would
furniture
be-
and stuff.
This would be Mr. Iafredi and myself.
Okay.
Yes. The Holloman renovation, as you know, when we pull out the unit ventilators against the exterior walls, that, we have to put in bookcases because we have pulled out bookcases and it's an unfinished area and it has to get finished. So to keep things consistent in the district, I've talked to, Mr. Testa on this, and it's agreed that we should keep a similar look in all our buildings. And so we've gone out on the MPA, which is listed on line 1 of your documents here. So this quote in our seeking approval is related to the 2 MPAs, and the total cost is $213,049.83, and includes installation. And it is substantially less than we paid at Sherman. So we seek your approval.
It's all, I'm not calling it furniture, but it's all,
These are the bookcases. and
yeah,
counters
bookcases,
that go
millwork,
in,
I'm gonna call it.
and a new setup for the front main office, because it's the one place people come in and we can, when parents come in, people
Yeah.
come in and it looks nice.
Yeah.
So we've done it at all the schools that we have done these renovations at, and W. Basin does do a great job. And we did the same look everywhere, which is what we really want.
Any questions for Steve on that? And it's budgeted, so.
Yeah, so it's-
All right, so if no other questions, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the award of WB Mason for $213,049.83. Moved by Mr. Kravitz, second by Mr. Bowl. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next, change order reports. First is all board PCO number 4 for Holloman.
This is for lead paint removal for, the installation of the steel. Once we got in there, we, saw the dreaded orange paint that was beneath several layers of, additional paint over it. So we did an ASI to do with time and materials. It seems to be the best way to go. So after all the several locations, $5,311, which was substantially less than the quote to do it without time and materials. So we seek your approval for that.
Any questions for Steve? All right, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve PCO number 4 for $5,311. Moved by Mr. Holmes, second by Mr. Kravitz. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carries. Next, B, all board construction PCO 10 Holloman renovation.
When this project was designed, there was a hard ceiling in place, asbestos containing. So we had to go by existing drawings to see, that showed where water piping was. Once we ripped down the ceiling in the abatement process, we found that the water piping was not where it was shown on the drawings. So we had to we had to move the piping. To do it by quote would have been substantially more. So once again, we did an ASI to move it forward. The architect directing the contractor to go ahead and retract time and materials. Did the same thing at Sherman, and it was $73,000, but to do it this way, we brought it in at 44,000. And we checked everything, and it was, for the amount of work that had to be done, it's a good number. We seek your approval.
Questions for Steve? The drawings that you are referencing, are those the original drawings for the school?
1953.
So,
They were completely on the other side of the corridor.
okay. And that one question that, Steve, I don't know if this is for you or for, Steve Guglielmo. I did have somebody asked me a question about on these, there's a markup, the 10% markup on labor, and then there's a 6%, where's that 6%?
6% for the GC.
For the GC.
So
Right.
what is, this is by AIA contract. The profit and overhead are designated so that contractors can't gouge. And, so the contractor themselves gets 6%, and, the subcontractor gets 10%.
Okay.
So that is in the contract. They're not gouging, and generally, the supervision, will negotiate with the contractor. Here, they put more than 8 hours in. They had to be there daily to supervise which pipe was gonna have to be moved, where it was gonna have to go, did we have to ship duct work? They probably put in 24 to 40 hours alone just doing this. So they did a good job, and they did kind of some break on it. So
And those markups, so what you're saying is those markups are standard to AIA?
Yes.
AIA contracts, so, and,
It's in the general conditions of the contract.
yeah,
okay,
yeah, they can't go more than that. But it also locks us in at the number.
any other questions for Steve? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve all board PCO 10 for $44,448. Moved by Ms. Corey, seconded by Mr. Bowl. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next, Garofalo and Associates, Colgate High School PCO number 1. Steve, putting it on at $3,250.
This is where for the additional work that needed to be done, which you got the report on, so.
But this is Tollgate, not Pilgrim, because Sam's not usually my architect. Sam's not my architect.
Correct, it's a
That's why I'm
misnomer, yeah,
asking.
sorry.
No, it's fine.
Yep,
So is it Tollgate?
yes, okay.
Okay. All right. All right. Any questions for Steve? All right. Hearing none, looking for a motion to approve Garofalo PCO number 1 for $3,250. Moved by Mr. Kravitz, second by Mr. Bowl. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries. Okay, last one, Rhode Island Analytical, PCO number 1, Holloman renovation. Total is $2,930, right? That's the change
Right.
order.
This was for additional testing that needed to be done, including, for the lead and some additional abatement, asbestos abatement. So this was for the testing, air quality testing, making sure that the lead was done correctly, and all the above.
Okay.
Is this the one where the contractor didn't show up?
There's one in here with I guess there was a,
2 times he didn't show up?
Yep.
Did you get charged for that?
I'm gonna get the money back from Allboard.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, no, I
I saw that.
saw the thing, it's a,
Yeah, no, there's two
you know, I
where
know
they
you
didn't
did.
show up,
Yeah.
and, I will be getting that back from Allboard.
Okay. Just let us know.
Yep.
When you do. Okay.
But we do have to pay them.
All right. So looking for a motion to approve Rhode Island Analytical for $2,930. Moved by Mr. Bowl, seconded by Mr. Kravitz. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next, consent payment authorizations. First one is, all board, Howland renovation, $1,360,817.
Been reviewed by Mr. Ifredi and myself and Mr. Calcagno. They are moving ahead and are ahead of schedule, so we are fine with the space.
Budget wise, we're still trending pretty good.
What's that?
And budget wise, we're trending
Yeah.
pretty well there, right?
Yeah, there's only 10 change orders here, which is really good for this project.
Any questions for Steve on that one? All right, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve all board consent payment application 3, $1,360,817. Moved by Mr. Kravitz, seconded by Mr. Delacorte. All in favor? Aye, opposed, motion carries. Item B, BR&A Consulting Engineers for $13,935 for Pilgrim High School.
This is the commissioning agent for the high school projects. This bill is for services rendered during design. They do design reviews of the mechanical, electrical, plumbing drawings and the envelope package. They're at about 40% complete for this phase of work. So this is a progress billing. Recommend approval.
40% complete? So is the total budget of 383, is that for both high school projects?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, because right
Yeah,
now
this is
it's,
just for Pilgrim.
okay, so I'm gonna spend like $30,000 there. Well, okay. All right, any questions for Mr. Bates? If not, looking for a motion to approve BR&A Consulting for $13,935.
And just to clarification, sorry, just 40% complete of the design review phase.
Okay.
They're also going to be our consultant during construction as well, post-construction.
That explains it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, so looking for a motion to approve BR&A. Moved by Mr. Kravitz, second by Superintendent Danbrook. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, separately, take these separately, Steve, C&D.
You can take them together if you would like.
Okay, Dimeo Construction Application C and D for Pilgrim High School, $19,135.65. Colgate High School, the CTC enabling work, $23,364.56. Total is $42,521 for both applications. Any questions for Steve?
Missed it.
I know.
The three under the bus. I know.
Any questions on any of those? No? Okay. Hearing none, looking for a motion to approve Dimeo's application C and D totaling $42,500.21. Moved by Ms. Calori, seconded by Mr. Kravitz. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, items E and F, EW Berman. Application number 4, $123,746.05. The Oakland Beach facade.
Yeah.
You want to do that one at a
Yeah,
time?
one at a time.
Okay.
The project is, complete. They've got some cleanup they're gonna have to do, so there's retainage, but, they're waiting for the windows to get done, because those projects, the window install and the masonry overlap as far as location. But it looks good. Al, you have any comments on the facade?
No, just very positive, very,
Yeah, it went well.
Okay, any questions for Steve or Mr. Calcagni?
Isn't EW Berman, didn't we have issues with work they had done in the past?
We have issues with the renovation, but not with the facade.
What they're doing?
The facade, they did a good job. Their involvement was limited.
Oh, okay.
I say that out loud.
No. Okay. All right, any other questions for Steve? All right, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve EW Berman application 4 for $123,765.05. Moved by Mr. Bold. I'll second. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item F, application 12, $171,681.47 Oakland Beach renovation, mechanical building envelope.
This is more related to your question, Mr. Ball. So, we're holding, $143,132 in retainage, which more than covers any issues, outstanding issues we have with them. So
approving this one and we're still holding 143.
Still under 100, yeah, still. Holding 143,000.
Questions for Steve?
How come we're not holding anything back from Allborg for the damage this work has done at Spokane? Women,
We're not, they're not invoicing anything at this point in time. That's an insurance claim. I'll discuss that in the update.
Any other questions? Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to approve EW Berman application 12 for 171,681 and 47 cents. Moved by Mr. Bowl, seconded by Mr. Kravitz. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is G&H FW Web totaling $578.23 for the Warwick Neck elevator site. Moved by Mr. McCaffrey,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Calori. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item I, excuse me, Garofalo and Associates for $2,080 for Pilgrim High School.
That's survey work for the FAA's aeronautical study to approve the athletic field lighting. So the work has been done, the survey's been done, it's been submitted to FAA, it's currently under review, so I recommend approval.
Any questions, Mr. Bates?
Does that connect with the other item that we talked about earlier that we approved?
No.
Okay.
Separate,
Just checking.
different federal.
Okay. All right, any other questions? So moved by Mr. McCaffrey, second by Mr. Kravitz, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, Camco Supply, item J, $543.13 for the Warwick Neck elevator site. Moved by Mr. McCaffrey. I'll second, and seconded by Mr. Kravitz. Any questions for Steve on that? No? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, item K is left field, for high school projects, $110,000 for December 2024.
They've earned their money.
Yeah. So that's, okay. Any questions for Mr. Bates on that? Or where we're at or anything? Or you'll get an update shortly. Okay. We're looking for motions to approve left field item K for $110,000. Moved by Superintendent Danbrook, seconded by Mrs. DeCourt. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, item L, Rhode Island Analytical, $16,988. Holland renovation pending item D4D approval.
We already approved, so.
That's already approved? That approval's in hand?
Yep.
Okay, what was this for, Steve?
This is for all the air testing and for the abatement at Howland.
Okay.
That's how, when we do abatement, we have to have somebody come and air test and clear the area, make sure everything is done correctly.
Any questions for Steve on that? Okay, hearing none, look for motion to approve Rhode Island Analytical, $16,988. Moved by Mr. Bowles, seconded by Mr. Kravitz. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, item M, Som Architecture, $473,166.05. November 2024 services of Pilgrim High School. So they're behind. Right. They're behind a month. The November
Yes,
services.
yeah, I don't, yeah, they are.
Well, their bills come in, they invoice at a particular time, and they
Oh, okay.
don't make the cutoff,
Yep.
so it goes to the next one.
Got it.
But just to, Som has submitted their DD package to RIDE. They're currently pushing forward towards their 60% construction documents milestone, so
And that's good.
they're moving along. Yes.
Okay. All right, any questions for Mr. Bates? All right, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve Som for $473,166.05. Moved by Mr. Kravitz, seconded by Mr. Bowl. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, items N through S for Secoshel and Associates, Bond 1 and Bond 2 project designs totaling $12,777.55. You want to do them all as a group and just,
This is, for all the Holloman, the Open Beach, or Connect project,
these three of them are finals, right? Okay. Any questions for Secoshel or for Mr. Guttenberg? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve Secoshel N through S for $12,777.55. Moved by Ms. Calori. I'll second. Any questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item T, Secosio and Associates, $443,025 for Tollgate High School.
Scotia is, as we know, tracking just a little bit behind Pilgrim. Their schematic design package is currently in RIDE for review. They have progressed forward or are progressing forward with their design development package. Building, but a building for work done to date, correct?
Correct. Yeah, this was, at the end of last month.
Yeah, so it's earned and they're progressing forward like Simon's.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Bates or Secosio? I'm hearing none, looking for a motion to approve Secosio, $443 and $25 and $443,000. Moved by Mr. Holmes, seconded by Mr. Kravitz. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, items U through Z, Stephen Turner, Inc., Bond 1 and Bond 2 commissioning RIDE required services totaling $6,883.06. So Steve, this is just standard commissioning?
Yeah, this is commissioning, and these are all the, Bond 1, Bond 2 projects.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, any questions for Steve on any of these? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve items U through Z, moved by Mr. DeCourt, seconded. Second by Mr. Bowl. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item double A, Supply New England, $61.33. Moved by Mr. Holmes. I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, items BB through EE for SINET, from bid 25-003.
These are, for the final connections from our building envelope projects.
Total.
The Robertson is one of our original ADA projects 3 years ago. We had an OCR complaint. So I had to bring them in and, make an adjustment. And that was the cost for it. So,
The total of all of them is $3,413. So looking for motion to approve SINET items BB through EE. Moved by the superintendent, seconded by Mr. Kravitz. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item FF, Ty and Bonds, High School, $3,735.
That's our environmental engineer. They're doing the phase 1 and phase 2 soil assessments. We tabled this invoice last month.
Yep.
We have the the final Pilgrim phase 1 report in hand, and they are working on the Tollgate report. I would really like to, before closing out this phase, I'd really like to have those reports in hand. I might recommend that we do.
Okay.
I've spoken to them about this already, so they're aware. And they're okay with us holding payment until we get both.
Okay, any objection to tabling?
Hi, my apologies, first of all, for being late. Is that a requirement by RIDE to do a phase 1 on an
Yeah.
existing school? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
No objection to tabling, so we'll just table it for the next meeting. Okay. Okay, new business, discussion, capital and construction project update for Mr. Gothberg and Mr. Iafredi.
Final punch list items, except for 2 items, are down at Warwick Neck. In good shape there. Oakland Beach, we have a ducted VRF system in the metal building additions that went down, day before Christmas Eve. Pipe froze, it burst. Luckily, we were there. We are still checking out the conditions in it. We believe it's a computer board in each unit, so we've ordered new boards. Mr. Brady and I are looking, all hours of day and night, making sure that this does not happen again, along with Delta. Other than that, the windows are going in, they're still working second shift. Weekends when necessary, they work till 10 o'clock, 10:30, sometimes 11 o'clock at night. Still Advantage Glass, still working well. Most, I would say 75% of the cases and counters are in. Now, Berman will follow, and any touch-up painting above those will happen. Sorry, Freddie and I have walked the building several times, found some issues, and they are addressing those, which is why we are holding the retainage. Will not get the retainage until they complete.
Is that an insurance claim as well?
What is an insurance claim, the way it will work is the insurance company, our insurance company, the local trust is handling it. And then they will go after Berman, Delta, and whoever else is involved. There's some finger pointing going on here, which we are dealing with.
Do all the contractors point their fingers at each other?
Yeah,
Is that what happened?
yeah, my perspective is that this wouldn't have happened unless the heating system went down. I don't care what other issues may or may not been involved, but from my perspective, we wouldn't have had a pipe burst unless the heating system went down. Holloman is still month and a half ahead of schedule. Windows have arrived and are being installed. They're moving ahead. We have ceiling grid up as they move through the building. Electrical main switch gear should arrive next week. Chip next week. They'll probably arrive which is 2 months ahead of schedule. The transformer pad is in, bollards are in. The grounding grid is going to be in and inspected. I haven't verified that. And then once the bollards are covered, they're going to cover these instead of painting them, put the sleeves over them. Then we'll be in the queue for the transformer. So that all should go nicely. Rooftop units are on. Everything above is on, and they're making the connections. Pipe and duct insulation is going in. We're in good shape there. John Green punch list is essentially done. Anything else you can think of, Mike?
For John Green, the front, railings that they get painted,
Yeah,
that's the only thing holding.
yeah, we're gonna wait for some time on that. Go too cold right now.
I think the flagpole too.
What's that?
Flagpole.
Flagpole, yeah.
Yes.
And then at Winman, we had a major flood there. What happened there is the overhead door replacement was installed last March. And when you look up, there is supposed to be a piece that runs across. When you look up, it looks like it's been installed. It's not installed. There was a gap of about 3 inches by 10 feet. And with this cold weather, cold air came up. There was a 1 water line, 3/4 inch water line that was feeding a exterior silcock. And where B1 was flooded. And once again, this is insurance. And the responsible party will be overhead door. So the insurance company will go after them. The insurance company is bringing in their own engineering firm to take a look at this to verify. So we should not be a responsible party. So what we've done is we have insulated, parts have been ordered, we have insulated that area to make sure nothing happens again. Just something that did not get installed, and unless you got up on a ladder and looked over the coil housing, you would not have seen the gap. The gap looked like it was filled.
It's overhead door.
We believe it overhead.
Will probably be the responsible party.
Responsible, yes.
Okay.
So that we reviewed the design elements. Everything was designed to take care of that. But it will go to Allberg then to overhead door. So the way I see it going.
Okay.
They should probably go after both.
We'll have to go after both, yeah. It'll go down the line. Something will happen at Oakland Beach. They'll start with Berman and work their way down the line.
And I'll give you a final. Will the trust tell you how it resolves itself?
We're intimately involved with it, so we'll be
Yeah.
aware of what's going on. We'll report back to the
Yeah,
committee.
please. Okay. What else do you have?
That's enough.
All right. Yeah, I know. Questions for Steve? We have one. I have a question. It's kind of sort of related. It's about, Tollgate. The timeline to, demolish Drumrock. Is there a title? That's the leading question.
Yeah, that should start in March, we believe. I think the penal discussion that we had has some involvement, but the goal and the schedule right now is to get that started in March. That was
Okay.
always our first task.
Okay.
Right, we finished. ECM went in and finished everything yesterday as far as learning how much asbestos we had, where it is, what it's gonna take, so that we can, get that up to bid, and the demolition contractor will have the correct information.
All right, that was a leading question because of parking.
Yeah.
So the teachers have to park right now, and they're wondering that we moved them to park somewhere else, which makes them walk longer to the building.
Oh my God.
But the,
It wasn't
I will.
ice.
Yeah,
I,
ice and snow and stuff like that.
I'm,
okay. Not a resolution right now, it's just, so, March, talking
the
about a
way,
month and
the
a
way
half.
I look at that is Principal Calori had made a decision, to help train her staff so that they become acclimated to what's gonna be required. So we put up that gate. If there's pushback, it goes to.
Yeah.
Not us.
Yeah, no, I think that the timeline for Drumrock demolition is probably the key factor. So you're talking a month and a half, so. it's
And if I
not
could just
gonna-
comment on
Yeah,
that.
please.
They park in the same exact place that the students park and have to walk into the building, which is maintained by the maintenance. So if they choose to park elsewhere, that's their decision. They have a designated parking since the beginning of the school year. So as far as I'm concerned, it is safe and appropriate parking provided for my staff.
Understood. Okay. Okay. Anything else from you guys, Steve? You, Steve and Mike?
I think we're good.
Okay. All right. Next new business item is high school project update per left field. Mr. Bates.
So for this month's update, I wanted to focus on the Tollgate High School. Specifically, there was last month a routine pre-application meeting with Department of Environmental Management to talk about the wetlands and the project's impact on them and the permitting process, timeline, et cetera. During that meeting, it was suggested by DEM that this could entail, just based on the impacts to the site, could entail a full wetlands permit review, which would take at least a year, which would be very, very bad. So to Steve, Mr. Guglielmo's credit, he and his team immediately pivoted and came up with a design solution that we believed mitigated the impact of the wetlands area. Just for you guys' knowledge, the wetlands area in question was just east of the Drumrock building, right? And just yesterday morning, we had a follow-up meeting with DEM, and they were very much in approval of the design revision. So things are looking much more promising. They think it can be downgraded to a variance review, which is maybe 2 to 3 months as expected, as opposed to a year plus. So we'll take that as sort of a win. However, there are other implications because we needed to update RIDE on the status of the design revisions that we had proposed. We went in, we had a great meeting with Dr. De Silva, and he's very much in favor of the modifications. And Mr. Guglielmo can talk a little bit more about what these changes are. But we think that there's some cost savings with these revisions, and it certainly alleviates the wetlands problem. But with all of the changes that have been imposed on this project because of the site, largely the budget problems, and as we all know about, and now this DEM issue, RIDE now sees this project very much still in schematic design, right? So our intent was to be beyond SDs at this point and be very much into DDs, if not submitting for DDs, where in fact we are currently in SDs. So I wanted to make the committee aware of that, and there was a detailed list of comments that came from RIDE, which we are expected to address line by line, which we're currently working on. This all came about just within the last couple of weeks in order to satisfy them and let them assure them that we've got a comprehensive package here before we move on to the next phase, which I think we'll all agree is very important because schematic design is really when the scope gets defined for the project, and we want to make sure that we have a very complete, comprehensive understanding of the scope before moving forward. So I want to bring that to the committee's attention. Timeline impacts are not yet defined. And it's also fresh that we really need to talk about them further with the team internally. But please, Mr. Guglielmo, if you want to share any of the design details, by all means.
Yeah, because we have the wetlands area just north of the school, it was kind of splitting up the parking lot. But because of this 1 year proposed review process from DEM, we figured we can't wait a year. So as John said, we redesigned the parking lot at the north side of the building. We eliminated about 1 acre of paving and roadways, okay? Instead of going up around the back of the wetlands, we eliminated that road that went around the back and eliminated the parking that was in the back of the wetlands area. And what that did was it reduced the area and square footage of parking surface up in that area. We didn't lose any parking because we rearranged the parking in the area to the east of that. But what happened was, and we haven't even gotten a chance to review this with you, Candace, because it happened over the Christmas break. We had to remove the bus loop at the north side of the site. And now all the buses are going to be lined up in the CTC road as they are now. That's going to be the bus drop off and pick up. And the entrance and exit for the buses will be at the south end of the school as opposed to the north end of the school. So we went through that with RIDE. We met with Dr. De Silva, and he thought it was a great idea to eliminate the double buses. We had buses at the north and the south end of the school. So so by eliminating that bus loop at the north, we afforded the extra parking, so we didn't lose any parking spaces. We still have the 175 parking spaces at the north end of the site.
So my
So-
concern would be, once demolition starts, how safe is that gonna be for those buses to be dropping off and picking up in that spot?
It's down where you do that now between
Between the two buildings?
same location,
Right, but my point is, when you start the demo,
which will be,
the old building, that's right there.
right, but that's.
Yeah. Yes, that's a coordination issue that Demio has to work out, okay? But they can, at that point, they can always have buses come up. It's not that you can't have the buses come up in the back parking lot. We tried to keep them separated from the parent drop off.
Yep.
But for that certain time period of the demolition, they can use the roadway to up to the north parking lot and back down around. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that would be for a short period of time. But again, that's part of the phasing that Demio has to show us on how they're gonna get it done. Okay.
And RIDE is aware that, if their decisions to keep it in design development, they know that has an impact on the timeframe,
Absolutely.
right? So that's the part that, when you start to deal with the state, it really starts to frost me. Because everybody knows, and it's not just us, it's anybody who's in a similar situation, right? Because all of a sudden, the wetland problem that you evidently have found a solution for leads them to say, well, no, you're still over here, where we expect you to be here,
Yeah.
right?
Trying to-
They're not the ones who pay the bill. You know what I mean? Okay.
And once we get the final drawings, we can present them to the committee. The engineers are working on those changes now, so.
Can I see them first?
Yeah, you gotta.
Sure.
Yeah,
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 absolutely.
yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you were out on vacation, we didn't have time to meet with you, but I would sit with you and review everything with you.
In the big picture, it'll be to the benefit of the overall project that we go through these steps, I think. Right?
Yeah,
We've already,
it's turned out to be a cost savings too,
Right,
we believe. So
right.
there's several benefits to it. There obviously, no matter what we do when we start demoing those buildings, there's gonna be some congestion, and some issues. I think we can work them out.
So John, as far, last month when you guys were here, we had like 100,000 foot thing on costs, right? And the costs were trending in the right direction. Are we still seeing that?
yes, but, you know, the results, the data is not all in yet. Right? And I think that's consistent with what we said. It will be mid-January before we have real numbers. So you know, we've gotten some estimates, draft estimates trickling in that suggest that costs are trending downwards as a result of the value management that we've been doing and just maybe a refinement of the plans, but I don't have any real firm.
No, I wasn't asking for firm numbers, but I know with the whole, marine trade program building being separate, there's still, you guys are still here and here on what that actual savings would be. So end of January, hopefully, or next meeting, maybe we'll have a
Yes.
little bit of a better picture.
We will have
Yeah.
actual numbers. Yes.
Okay. Any questions for, Mr. Bates?
I just have a
Yeah.
comment. I've said it before, I just want to make sure we don't forget it. There are a lot of memorials on the different campuses, and I want to make sure that we don't miss any memorials that are there. And some families have already reached out, different, individuals who passed. And, the people that have contributed to the community, it's something we don't want to miss. We want to be respectful of, their space.
The only thing I would ask, Mr. McCarthy, is to make sure that we know,
And anyone that I've received, I've communicated to you.
yeah, but, you know, I know there may be something there and I don't know where they are. And I don't think the architects would know, but we know the major ones.
Yeah.
But if there is something that you're aware of, I think
Sure.
we can get a list, Candace, Ms. Fleury, if you can.
Yeah.
send-
We are aware of the memorial that's in back of Ty's Restaurant,
Yes,
that area there. And then there's a series of trees with
Yes.
plaques underneath them at the edge of the parking lot.
Mhm.
Those are the only ones that we know about. So if there's anything else.
Oh, no, that's,
Yeah, we need to know what they are.
there's the rock, there's Steve's garden,
There's a Sorella bench that's on the
the
field.
Sorella bench, there's Emos. Yeah, I'll make a list.
You know, and if there's things that need to be moved to new locations, we'll need to know that.
There should be a bench that's been moved or going to be moved from drug.
Yeah. I know which one you're
Yeah,
talking about.
that's been pointed out.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's in
And
great
there's a
shape.
plaque on the side of Tollgate and a tree too as you enter the school.
Correct.
And there's a Schragus garden next to the place.
Mhm.
The bench.
Yeah, just have to preserve it. We can't keep them, move them. But just make sure that we don't lose them.
Just we're getting to the point where it's starting construction, I just want anything missed.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Bates? All right, next item is the discussion and action, Ty Bond Phase 1 Environmental Report. All 946 pages.
Yeah.
I didn't read all
Little
900.
light reading before the
It's the
weekend.
same-
And that's just one of the reports, unfortunately. So that was the Pilgrim report. I think I said before, Tollgate, I'm confident it's about 99.9% done. They're just waiting on the principal to come in and sign it before they send it to us. We saw drafts a few months ago, these reports. I think we're aware that there's enough to suggest that we should do the exploratory work that we're gonna hopefully do in the next phase, pending approval. So I think we thought it would behoove us to put closure on phase 1 in order to move into phase 2. That's why it's on the agenda.
Well, yeah, in Phase 1, they reference a lot of the, what used to be in the adjacent properties. There was service station and stuff like that. And they say that none of those should have any impact on. So anything that would potentially impact is what's in the school itself.
Yeah, if anything, it was underground storage tanks at the school
Right.
from the past, any potential washout from the laboratory, the chemicals that they use, the auto shops, any potential leakage. Those are probably the primary areas of concern where they want to focus on.
Okay. All right, any questions for, Mr. Bates on that at all? Is there a cost associated with this? There's no, This is just a report. We're just-
consulting
we're-
fee. Yeah,
Yeah, which we've already
it's
discussed.
already been.
Yeah, we've already
contracted.
approved, right,
Yeah.
part of the contract.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so if there are no questions for Mr. Bates. I'm looking for a motion to accept the Ty Bond Phase One environmental report on Pill. Moved by Mr. Kravitz. Second? I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next one is Ty Bond Phase Two test borings for left field.
Right, so this is phase two. So this is the not to exceed proposed fee. I think it's $103,000 and change to have the driller out there to do soil investigation and sampling and some water test pits. It's just a little background. It's actually the quantity of the testing is actually substantially less than what was conservatively asked for in the RFP, which is good. Some cost savings there. Mr. Gottberg and myself met with Ty and Bond and agreed to remove some of the proposed testing, particularly at Pilgrim. They had suggested doing gas testing, which we agreed wasn't necessary. So some cost savings there. We do think that there's some need to do some gas, specifically radon testing at Tollgate, because the presence of bedrock tends to suggest that there could be radon there. So we are going to proceed with that gas testing at Tollgate. But it's a not to exceed, depending on how things go on site, the number could get a little lower. But we recommend proceeding forward. We'd like to do this work sooner than later. We propose doing it on the 20th, I think is MLK weekend, where there wouldn't be students for 3 days. We could start the work January 20th. Any remaining work that we can't address during that weekend, we do during the February break. But we do need to keep this moving in order to inform the consultants so that they know what they're looking at in terms of any kind of soil remediation if it's needed.
So kind of noisy process. Is that why you want to do it? Because
Yeah, it's some drilling involved, and a lot of the cost is to do with the drilling fees. So yeah, they'll have a machine out there working.
Any questions for Mr. Bates on that? All right, so we're looking for a motion to approve Ty Bond Phase Two test borings not to exceed $103,550, and this is budgeted. Look for a motion to approve. Moved by the superintendent, seconded by Mr. DeCourt. Any further questions, Mr. Bates? Okay, hearing none. Call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item, Mr. Lucy, apologies.
Snuck him in.
Well, he came here early, so we, no public comment. Committee member requests for future consideration. Anybody want anything on the agenda the next meeting? You can reach out to myself or Jan. Yes.
I don't have a location for the February meeting coming up. We might have to do it in the room 212.
Where's that?
Having an issue, our office in the corner, capital construction,
Can we
having
fit?
issues, this room is taken. I've also been notified the basement is unavailable, so we might have to meet in our office.
Can we fit?
We can make it work.
All right. Okay, location to be determined. So, okay.
I'll have to sit on Billy's lap.
The next meeting is February 5th. Okay, if nothing else, just looking for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Bull, second Mr. Kravitz.
You're not getting.
All in favor? Aye.
No matter what you.
We're adjourned at 8:49. Thank you.
you.